everybody. Welcome to PowerHouse Fence Show. My name is Zach Shue.
And I'm Dan Turbyville.
I didn't know if he was going to speak today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This is a podcast of sorts that we discuss commercial fence business and the wear and thereabouts.
Yeah.
And the wear and tear abouts sometimes.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we had some wear and tear incident happening today.
That's true. It's true.
So do you want to just segue right into that or
whatever? Here we are. Wear and tear. We bought a US hammer.
Yeah.
A post driver.
Yeah.
Pretty cool looking. We did like a box unboxing for 4th of July. It's US themed.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But we demolished the thing.
We broke it
somehow. It has driven a ton of posts since we got it. I mean, we have used it at great length.
Yeah, it's now it's the preferred post driver.
So that's cool.
We have a few of the gas powered Rhinos. It's the only thing we have to compare to, but people now go for the US Hammer over the Rhinos.
So what I can say is I think they brought that into me this morning about 10, and maybe by 1, I'd already received a return shipping label from Brian Harris at US Hammer and with a commitment to get it straightened out, taken care of. Let's see, we've had it since February the 2nd. At least that's when the payment was made. So
so we ordered
February 2nd. I don't know how long we've actually had it. We had it
since February, we'll say.
So, and I'm not saying anything to the quality of the equipment, save for the fact that, I mean, we're some brutes, man.
We broke it. That's what we did.
That's right. So we'll see what happens, man. But I have faith. His response was like instant. You know, I mean, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
I asked him a question the other day about some sleeves or adapters or whatever, and I mean, he's Johnny on the spot.
So that is something I will say. The sleeve we have, the 2-inch that we were using to drive T-posts, because of the little slop in there, that thing is
destroyed,
tore down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild. So I don't know what is wrong with this thing.
It's really broke.
And there's parts falling out. I told him, if you move the piece of equipment, you can hear some jangalang inside there. I was just trying to humor it up a little, because it's hard to be like, we broke the tool you sold us. Who's going to be, I want you to be responsible.
Right. Immediately going into that.
As the customer, of course you want to be like, is this warranted? What's going on here? But I can't really attest to misuse or proper use either, because I haven't been the one using the tool. So it's kind of a weird thing, but I think he'll get it straightened out, man. I have all faith that he'll just fix it for us and send it back. Now I got to figure out how to package this monster.
Yeah. Now, if we receive a bill or not, we can't speak to that yet.
Sure.
But I mean, honestly, I think we should. We've had it for 6 months or ish, and we've used it. So, I don't know. What are you going to do? Stuff's not going to last forever.
That's right. So either way, man, it's cool. We'll keep you guys posted. We are digging it. Well, we're not digging it. We're driving it.
Well, actually, we're not now.
But the crew does prefer the US Hammer, and it's a badass piece of equipment.
Yep, that's the one they go to.
Yeah. So cool. Right. Thanks for joining us. This episode is brought to you, as most episodes are, by Memphis Fence Company, MFC Manufacturing, or MFG as we like to call it, Simpalo, and Thornton Fence Consulting Group. You want to plug Thornton in there?
Yeah,
FenceConsultingGroup.com.
So I was thinking, for anyone who doesn't know what the Thornton Fence Consulting Group does, they host several events per year. We will be attending the event this December, the Fence Business Conference. And I definitely suggest that everyone go to one of those events, at least one. It's super cool. But also, and we talk about that on the show regularly. We talk about these events that happen, but also you can hire the Thornton Fence Consulting Group to come to your business. And I mean, I think they spend like a week with you and kind of go through your entire business and help you increase your efficiency and profitability. So that's a kind of a rundown of what they do. And Tony's, always super willing to help. Every time I've ever had a question and called, he's just, given me what I was asking for, basically. So he's been on the show a few times.
Yes, cool dude.
Yeah.
He was also he wrote a piece for the most recent fence post for the AFA.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it was about. I read it. I totally forgot what it was about. I was busy thinking about something else. So speaking of reading things, we often like to talk about things we're reading. By the way, we're Dan and Zach. I'm Zach. He's Dan. We are live today, and we are living and thriving in the PowerHouse studio here at the Memphis Fence Company property.
We haven't been live in a while.
Right. That's what I mean. Thriving, man. Digging it. Yeah. Well, driving it.
Right. I miss being live, but here we are. So if you have missed our past few episodes, we've kind of been going through all of our different processes. We kind of gave a little breakdown about how our business is structured, and then we started going through the process that we have for every division. And this will be the next episode in that series.
Cool.
I thought it would be the last, but I don't think it will.
Okay.
I think we'll have one more. So,
all right.
Ilaria's over here throwing stuff.
These are the boring ones, apparently.
She doesn't like them very much.
No, I just wrote final.
Yeah.
That's okay. I can fix.
I just deleted final, actually.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Not on your stuff. I just did it on the agenda.
Oh,
sorry.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, what have you been reading, man?
Nothing exciting.
I started a new book just so I could tell everyone. I'm super excited.
What's this book?
Well, I forgot. I pulled it up a moment ago, so I would say it right off the bat. It's called The Author. Nope. It's called The Actor, and the author's name is Don Miguel Ruiz.
It's The Actor by the author.
The author's name of the actor is Don Miguel Ruiz, which he wrote a book called The Four Agreements. It's a interesting thing. I won't tell you about it. You can go look it up yourself.
Okay. That's cool. I don't really care that much.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you're a great friend.
I'm just kidding. So you're not going to tell us what it is? Just like a 10-second overview.
Yeah, I've only read the first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the idea is that ultimately we kind of, in our society, we kind of cultivate a stage character, so to speak. And it kind of starts from, right now it's just saying this is how it is. And from his perspective, in that we kind of start doing it for our kids, because essentially, as a child, you mimic your adult or your parents, and you are performing for applause from them, right? Like, you say their first word, you get them to say it over and over again. And so it kind of builds this. And I don't know exactly what the whole goal here is, but maybe that there's a greater purpose in life than
performing.
Yeah. And being so focused on what other people think of the performance, and that ultimately that your experience is dictated by the character that you have trained yourself to be, or that you see yourself as. So each interaction is kind of dictated or guided by how you view yourself in the circumstance.
Just all right, cool. Yeah. Getting deep, man. All right.
That's what anyways. I was like, you may not want to go down it too far, but there it is.
Yep. So nothing new for me. Same old, same old. I get tired of talking about it every week, so I'm just going to skip right on by.
That's why I started a new one.
Yeah. I need to. So we've been, doing what we do and cramming everything together in the last minute, getting ready to go to the West Coast Fence Show.
Yeah.
So we'll be there here in the next couple of weeks, September 5th through 7th. All the booths are sold out. We're giving away some stuff.
We are.
And
it'll be golf experience appropriate.
But outdoor. I don't think you have to play golf to use the stuff.
That's right.
So it also will benefit you if you're not a golfer.
Right.
So no matter who you are, no matter where you are, come by and get some stuff.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Good one.
Thanks. And we'll be doing some Simpolo demos there too. So if you're interested in seeing that, you can come by and I can show you what it does. And wait, are we taking the headshots? Did we decide? Are we going to hand out autographed headshots? I feel like this is your favorite thing for me to talk about.
Yeah, we are.
What is it?
Okay. Pictures of us, autographed pictures of us.
Okay, whatever. She just asks me for photos of myself and I give them to her. I don't know what happens after that.
Pictures I took.
Thank you.
Which is still, that's still weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Any of that's weird. All right. So
she took them of me. I didn't take them of me.
Let's talk about
That
a tool.
doesn't change.
Let's talk about a tool.
I know that's an odd. We were talking about the thing we.
Oh, we already
had.
talked about a tool. All right, let's skip it.
We did buy a Milwaukee rivet tool. It's the M18, so 18 volt. I've been using it to install 1/4-inch rivets into approximate 11 gauge or 1/8 wall square tubing. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so we got it because we have an ornamental fence that we're doing that we have to put sheet metal on.
Yeah, we're installing 12 gauge sheet metal on a 14 gauge 1x1 square tube picket.
Yeah.
So it's going to look good. They look clean. We got the rivets from McMaster Carr. We got the tool from Northern Tool, and it looks pretty beast. Now it's going to try, time to see how it works in a field environment. I did like 3 test rivets, so I can't really speak to the continuity or how long the battery lasts, but I think the website claims or the box claimed like 600 rivets.
Crazy.
Rivet per charge.
Yeah, something crazy. It looks cool. It worked for 3 rivets, and from there we'll see what happens. And if we have anything interesting, we'll report back on that.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Milwaukee Tools. Italian word of the day. Now is my favorite part of the show. One of you all's favorite part of the show. It's the Italian word of the week with Ilaria Pisoni.
It's me.
All right. So this week's word is contractor.
I feel like we've done this one before.
Oh.
Yeah, let's do another one.
Okay. Well, y'all come up with one.
Zach, you got any questions?
Okay,
Not really. Let's do contractor again.
Yeah. I mean,
so I don't know how to say it in Italian.
Oh no.
Oh, that's why she didn't want to do it. She doesn't know.
It's not a word in Italian.
No, I'm sure it is. I just
I mean, if you hire someone to come to your house and do some work, what are they?
So it's like a person who applies for a job, like, right?
No. You mean like someone who applies to work at a company?
No. It's like
someone who submits a bid for a job.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about? Is that the word you want to know?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's try that one.
Let's go for it.
I think that one is appaltatore. Good luck.
Appaltatore.
Oh, wow.
Appaltatore.
Oh, wow.
Good luck that, Ilaria.
You slayed.
We're slaying, according to Ilaria.
Yeah. Those are
cool. Thank you.
Those are high marks from Ilaria.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about the topic of the show?
I think so. But first,
let's entertain
I have
Brian's
a question.
Let's do this.
So, first of all,
let's go.
Yeah. And then Brian says, "What do you think?"
Thanks for chiming in, Christian.
What do you think of people getting into commercial jobs using standard AIA contract documents with customers? I don't really understand the question.
I don't. That's what my brain's doing. I'm not.
Yeah, me too.
I don't really understand either, actually.
Brian, we need more context. Help.
Yeah. Help, Brian. Help. So he asked the question, and now we're asking questions of him.
Can you reply to him?
We just did.
I think we just did.
Right, but what if he's not listening currently?
I don't know. I guess we'll never know.
Can you not?
Ilaria can.
Yeah,
okay.
I got it.
Cool, thank you.
All right, so here's the topic of the, we already talked about the topic of the show. So in the past, we've covered our process, our business structure, our process for residential, business to business, commercial, ornamental. And so we've ran through all of those. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. This is when your drum roll comes in.
I was replying.
Oh.
Um,
Okay. So, General Contractor Commercial. All right. So there's an array of different paths you could go down in the commercial fence world. This one specifically is we either receive an invitation to bid or we go find jobs that are publicly posted somewhere and we submit prices to general contractors who would then turn in our price as a part of their package. So we would become a subcontractor if they're successful, right? Just to be clear about the path that we're talking. Okay, you good?
I think so.
Okay.
Done it once or twice.
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing that happens, we have a new lead, and those leads come to us a few different ways. One of them, I just took a phone call a couple days ago, and so people do call in, and this particular person was like, "Hey, I've got this job. I just wanted to see if you might be interested in it before I send it to you."
That's cool.
Right? Because it was something a bit out of the ordinary. So we do get those. We get emails. People just send us an email. Hey, can you give me a price on this? And then we also get invitations to bid. So once we have started bidding job or whenever we started bidding jobs to general contractors, we got put on bidders list. And so then they started sending out invitations to bid on more projects. And then we go hunt jobs on, sites like Construct Connect and your local plan rooms and things like that. And so all of those are ways that there's a few ways that leads come to us. Do you think of any others?
Not phone call, email, and then we look for them.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's pretty much it, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So when we get a new lead, we put it in, we have a group of boards on monday.com that we use for this general contractor bidding process. And so we'll put this job into a section called in review.
Right.
And so that's hopefully, ideally, I guess is a good way to put it. That's ideally done by someone that's like an administrative assistant or something like that. And so that's kind of the purpose of having the in review area. So they can stick it in there and just put a link to wherever the job is posted. That way we can kind of hop in and we can follow that link and go take an early look at the job and decide if it's something that we want to bid. And so we're looking
And
at
mostly that review process is we get a lot of stuff that's like silt fence. And just because it says fence in the name of the project, which maybe some fence companies do a lot of silt fence, we do not.
yep.
We don't really do a bunch of arbor protection fence, which is something that we see kind of come through. So in the field of things that are coming that we want to review, that's kind of ultimately it. We're not really looking at them like, oh, it's too puny or it's not a big enough job or
Right.
it's not what's the word, glamorous enough or anything. So ultimately we're just kind of digging around to see if it's something we want to do, right? I mean,
Yeah,
in that respect, it's like we don't do silt fence, so obviously this one's going to go to get kicked out.
right. Yeah, we're not looking for something that is high profile, high priority, anything like that, right?
Right. Although that is fun
It is,
and
for
we
sure.
like that.
For sure.
So
But we're looking at, the location of the job, the type of job, and something that's big is how long until the job bids,
right.
right? Because we don't want to put energy and resources and everything into a job that bids in a day or two when it's going to take us a week to actually put together a proposal, right? So we kind of take all those things into consideration, and then we make a decision if we're going to bid it or not. Yeah, yeah, and I think
Scheduling for completion, that was something I also was thinking while you're talking about, the bid date, right?
mhm,
It could be close, but also sometimes these things will say the bid's due in 3 days, and then we want the work to be completed within 60 days of the supplying of the bid,
yep,
basically, or whatever. And so that's kind of tight for us on some projects, right? I mean,
yeah,
there might be some if it's like temporary fence or some other circumstance we can meet that deadline, but if not, we're not going to say yes, we'll take the job knowing that it's going to be difficult or nearly impossible for us to supply what we've committed to supply. I think that's, just a measure of practicing integrity, right?
Right. Yep.
And then you get into all the stuff that comes along with liquidated damages or whatever, to run the risk of owing money for having not finished the job. So there's that part too.
Yep. And also, I mean, if we look at it and we've got, say we've got 8 big projects that we're going to finish between now and the end of the year, right? We might not be able to fit another one in. But if this project that we're trying to decide if we're going to bid or not is bidding a year for, or going to be actually installed a year from now or 18 months from now, then, that's a different scenario too. So
Sure.
we've talked a lot about schedules in the past. There are, I don't even want to say normally, sometimes there's schedules like at bid time, and those schedules are going to be like plus or minus a lot, especially for us. They'll probably be pretty close about when they're going to break ground. And once you get all the way to the other end of the project, a lot of things have happened and they may or may not be right. So, like I said, it is a big plus or minus, but we've talked about that some in the past.
Yeah, the current job we're on, I think it might have been one of our last recorded shows. I was kind of like, this job doesn't seem to matter that much, which is not the truth at all. That's just kind of how that sounded when I said it. And at which point you were like, they probably do have a schedule. They just haven't extended it to you. At which point I asked the contractor, I was like, did the customer extend to you a project deadline? And so here's a circumstance where I've read the contract thoroughly. There's no schedule or outline or project deadline or anything. It does say if you don't adhere to the one that we have, we're going to charge you some amount of money, maybe, or whatever. And so I did ask, and I was like, when is the deadline?
And were they able to give you an answer?
Yeah, he did. Just very precisely.
Yeah.
It's like on my birthday. So that's cool.
Nice.
Be easy to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but that's a circumstance where there was no schedule. And ultimately throughout the job, they've just said, okay, it's time to come out here and do this now.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Oh, yeah. So that's what we get a lot. So kind of along those same lines, we were going through a contract. I just signed it today. And that contract was in like the insurance requirements. It said, all right, here's all your insurance requirements, da 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 da. And then it said, and you have to abide by all of the insurance requirements in the contract written from the owner to the contractor.
Right.
And so we had to go then request that contract. And so now we had to review the, 50 or 70 page long contract they sent to us, plus the one that the owner sent to the contractor. So that's always super fun too. Not about schedules, but just, I don't know, fun fact. So that would be the place that the deadline would probably be.
Yep.
So we have a reply from Brian. Let's see. Sorry, was driving. Industry standard construction documents created by AIA. Okay. Yes.
We use them.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know what AIA documents are. So what do I think of people getting into commercial jobs using standard AIA contract documents? So like, I kind of take that as the question is, what do I think about a general contractor sending me a standard AIA contract, maybe? And then the general contractor using AIA documents. We use AIA, our schedule of values and our billing forms are going to be AIA.
Yeah.
That's the one that we really have like an Excel spreadsheet built out of that works really well.
I've implemented them with a certain contractor that they didn't really issue a contract. They issued a PO. Yeah. And so then we were going to, implement progress billing without their request. So we used the AIA documents.
Yep.
So in that circumstance, it kind of worked well because they can see, helps them kind of organize their books. And maybe they're just not, maybe, I don't know, they're smaller. They've not really gotten into it. And I wouldn't really see an issue. It seems like I understand part of the question to mean like just kind of having a baseline contract that's reused for all circumstances ultimately.
Yep. There's some contractors that we do business with that use AIA contracts.
Right.
And so it's just like a standard form. It makes me nervous because I look at it and what you want to do is be like, oh, I've read through this thing 10 times before. Let me just sign it. But I never trust that. And so I still find myself going through the same thing. And I treat it exactly as I would any other contract.
Ooh, yes.
Review the entire thing, make sure that we, comply with all the insurance documents and everything else. But
I just sign them. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I like to make Dan nervous.
Yeah. He does a good job. Most people do. But yeah, I don't really care where the contract comes from as long as I feel like the language in it is solid. I kind of think that all of the contracts are written to protect the general contractor and the owner. 99% of that language in there is for that. And the 1% that says, here's the price of the job and we're going to pay you. That's good for us.
We like
That's
that.
what we get.
And I think the only I can think of a couple of scenarios. Help me if or feel free to add to this, that we have potentially redlined or disputed in a contract was something about the schedule. Is this flexible? We're not going to be able to meet that. There's no way that's possible. If that's extended to us post contract or in the contract, we'll dispute that. What was the other thing I was thinking about? Oh, the insurance requirements. If they are something weird, or if they're saying we don't meet the requirements yet we think we do, then that's really the only two disputes I can think of that we've had recently that would like conflict with a contract.
Yeah. So insurance is the number one thing that I'll redline in a contract. A lot of times there will be just generic, the entire insurance section will be like really generic and maybe something that they've recycled 1,000 times. And there will be insurance in there that doesn't even apply to us, like pollution liability insurance, professional liability insurance, things like that don't really apply to us. So it'll say like if applicable.
Right.
And that really makes me nervous because I feel like that's really subjective.
Yes, because they could assume or at some point designate that it was applicable.
Right. I feel like
we don't think it is, but they might think it is.
That's right. And so I think a good attorney could, paint a picture of how that coverage does apply to us. And so that is definitely one of the things that I look for in my redline.
Brian has summed up a little bit and says, yes, I was thinking if they don't have their own. And so as the vendor, if the contractor doesn't have their own contract and we want to issue them a contract to protect us, use a general AIA contract in that circumstance, I think that's a great idea.
I think he's saying that they send an AIA because they don't have their own.
He says people getting into commercial jobs.
Yeah.
And using an AIA to send to the customer, who would be the general contractor.
So maybe that this is crazy. Yeah, okay.
So
I can see
you
that.
answer it one way, I'll answer it the other way, and then we've covered all the bases.
So
right?
I think AIA you have to pay for.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's, I believe, like a subscription based thing, or you have to license the documents. So I don't know that to be 100% fact, but if you are considering using AIA documents as your contract, then I would probably make sure that whether or not you have to have a license to use them.
Yeah, just ask ChatGPT to write you one, and then ask ChatGPT to write it from the perspective of a lawyer.
Write this as if you were a lawyer. See, I just don't.
Are you a lawyer, ChatGPT? Yes. Will you write me this contract?
I dare say that's bad advice, sir.
That's really bad advice. Don't listen to that at all. I was just kidding. But
yeah. So we have a contract that we use. It's just a 1-page thing. It's not anything fancy. But if whoever's hiring us doesn't have a contract, then we will use ours. And I have that with a attorney currently to review again. I think it's important that periodically you have an attorney review documents. Don't use the same thing for 25 years and never get them to review it because laws change. So I sent a handful of documents that we use back to an attorney and asked them to go through and review it and make sure that everything is still good in today's world. I don't consider commercial GC work. So that is why it was confusing. We do commercial work, but no GC work. So it's all okay. So he's talking like in the business to business world, like you said,
extending them a basic AIA contract.
Yep.
I wouldn't see an issue with that. I mean, I don't, save for the fact that you may have to pay money to get the subscription, like you said.
Right. That'd be the only thing I'd check on, is to make sure that you can use that. I don't know what trouble you'd get into. I don't know at what point, if you were in a legal battle or something, maybe it would come up and, your customer might be able to say you didn't even have the rights to use that contract.
Mhm.
So I would make sure that I followed those rules properly if I was going to use an AIE document. But also, they say that, what is it? Plagiarism is the highest form of flattery. That's an interesting saying. I've heard a few times and doesn't really apply to this conversation at all. So take that for what it's worth. Okay. So
We talked about conflicting schedule. We talked about deadlines and that kind of thing, being a determining factor in whether or not we're going to decide to even go through with the bidding process.
Yep.
Right. That's where we're at.
That's right. So we're still looking at the job, trying to decide if we're going to bid it. So yeah, the conflicting schedule thing. And then, so the next piece of it is, as we go through this, I kind of like tried to put in timelines of when I want things to happen.
Right.
And so this like preliminary review, I'd like for someone who's, an estimator type of person to have seen a project at least 2 weeks out in advance. We get into these situations sometimes where somebody will put a job in there and then we go to bid it and it's 3 days before it bids and we realize, oh crap, this fence has 180 mile per hour wind load rating and has to be engineered and is going to take a week and a half to get a price.
Right.
Right. So that's why I think looking at it a couple weeks out and just making sure, even if you're just taking like an easy look at it, a high level look, just make sure it's not anything complicated that's going to take a while to get a price. We're currently jumping through hoops right now, trying to submit a bid tomorrow. This one isn't really on us. The contractor only called us on Tuesday and then sent us all the documents and everything on Tuesday, but it still sucks. It's kind of a complicated job, and so it's taken us a little bit of time to get everything put together. But anyways, so we decide that if we decide we're not bidding the job, then we just say not bidding, and we have an automation on Monday that just moves it to, a discard area or whatever that is. But if we decide we are bidding, then we will change the status of it to bidding or current bids or whatever that is, and it moves it down to a group called current bids on Monday.
At which point we input the bidder's contact information. Sometimes that's multiple people. Sometimes we're bidding as prime and sometimes we're bidding as a sub. So that'll be notated there as kind of a drop down. I don't know if people are familiar with Monday.com, but just sub items under the item to document who our contact was with phone number and contact information. That is part of our contact database.
Yep. Yeah, so we have a database built behind the scenes just to cut down on the duplicate entries. I mean, we find ourselves bidding jobs to the same people a lot of times, and so you don't have to enter their name, their company, their email, their phone number, all of this every time. So we just have a linked database. So when you start typing their name, it gives you, kind of like narrows down. What?
Yeah, that's right.
Narrow downs. What?
Yeah, narrows down the amount
list
of typing you got to do or whatever.
Yeah.
Then we set the bid date, just a calendar date. There's a calendar view, so you can see them all on the calendar if you need to, or in. There's actually multiple ways to view Monday board. We don't need to get into all that.
Yep.
And then that allows us to assign an estimator, so we can kind of designate the workload per week. I think the target was to bid 10 per estimator per week.
Yeah, that's our goal. So I have it set right now at like 5. And so just because we had kind of our group of estimators was fairly new, a little bit green in that world. And so I set it at a lower goal initially, but that's what we're working towards, is getting them up to a goal of 10 a week. So yeah, you set the workload and it kind of has like some little indicators that shows you the workload. Hey, I was going to say, if anybody would like to see Monday and kind of see what this looks like, then you can come to our booth at the West Coast Fence Show and we can show you that if you're going to be there. Otherwise, I show people a lot. I do Simpolo demos for people and they wind up asking about all this other stuff with our process and everything. And I mean, I show people our Monday account quite a bit and just kind of show them how this flow works and everything. So if you are interested in seeing it, let us know. If there's enough people interested, we might like make a video or something like that just to kind of give a rundown of what we do. And so that way it'd be out there for folks to see.
Right. So in the designating of workload, the job will be assigned to someone. Things will be designated as far as what type of job. Say it's field fence or ranch fence or whatever. The list goes on. Ornamental or chain link or animal enclosure. Who knows?
Well, and the type of job too can be, is it a local job?
Sure.
Is it an out of town job? Is it a federal job? Is it a, so the type of fence, the type of job, like there's a few different things that we kind of look at there.
Right. Then location. So the physical address or the city to the, as much information as we have. Then complexity.
I love complicated stuff. If anyone ever asks you to bid a job and it's really complicated and you don't want to mess with it, then give them my information. I'll do it.
We love it.
I love it. It's my favorite. So anyways.
Then we upload the job into, this is a convenient place to talk about Simpalo.
Oh.
What's Simpalo, Dan?
Yeah, so we uploaded in Simpalo. It
What's
allows
Simpalo?
us. Well, hold on. So that allows
Do
us.
tell.
That allows us to easily search through the plans. We draw out the fence directly on top of the plans, and then it gives us a material list. So we get to that point in Simpalo. And there's other places you can do it, right? It doesn't have to be in there. In my opinion, it works better than anything else you're going to find out there. And so that's the reason I made it, because I wasn't super thrilled about other stuff. But like I said, there are other softwares out there. There's other methods that people are doing it. That's just how we do it.
So I'm going to do a quick follow-up to where we are now. New lead comes in. New lead is reviewed. New lead, we designate that we're going to bid on new lead. So now it's no longer in new lead. It's in bidding. Yep. Actively bidding. The job will be assigned to an estimator, at which point there will be some information added just to kind of categorize the job for the estimator or two. Sometimes it's assigned to multiple. And now we've uploaded into Simpalo, and at this point we've searched the plans for what pages and noted or bookmarked the pages that the fence is on or what's applicable to our trade. Sometimes there's specs, which will be a part of that. That's either uploaded into the documents, mostly uploaded into the documents. Sometimes it's in the plan set, so you'll mark that page. Now we get into doing takeoff. So we're ready to do a takeoff. We're actually going to start looking at the fence. This is my favorite part. All that stuff up to this is not really the best.
Not that fun.
No, it's not fun, but this is the fun part. We get to like look at plans and decipher where the fence goes and how we're going to accomplish the job and all that stuff.
Yep. But first, hello, Susan K. Worley.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Little Susan K. Worley break in there.
All right. So yeah, I agree. Everything leading up to this point is kind of a little dull, right? And it is pretty exciting once you kind of get to like dig in and really sink your teeth into the job and figure out kind of what's going on. And,
yeah, man, the fence comes alive.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is where things get exciting. And this is my excited face too, by the way. Nice. So we go through the job again, and this time we really take a more detailed, in-depth look at it instead of that kind of broad overview type of approach. And we find the fence, and a lot of that is figuring out, the fence goes here. What is it going on? Is it going on concrete, asphalt, dirt, gravel? What's it going on? What's the grade look like? Right. So that's one thing that I feel like could easily be overlooked, is not looking at some sort of grading plan, especially if you're doing chain link or ornamental. Like, you want to make sure that your panels can rack enough to go down the grade, or are you stepping it? You want to bid it accordingly. So like I said, looking at the grading plan is always a good idea. But anyways, yeah, so we kind of take that in-depth look and go through there. And once again, if it's something complicated, we want to make sure we start working on that early enough. And then
get a huddle together and start figuring it out, how we're going to make it happen.
Yeah. So that's unfortunately what happens sometimes, is we go, oh crap, we should have been working on this 2 weeks ago, but
everybody come here and look at this.
Yeah, we got 2 days. Let's all freaking hustle on this thing right now. Drop what you're doing.
So in the process of doing the takeoff, You can start by in Simpalo by just using a measurement tool and measure the fence if you just want to get kind of a rough idea of the linear footage or something like that. But there's also the option to select a product, at which point just doing the process of the takeoff will compile a list of materials needed for that type of fence.
Yep. Yep. So there you go. Now you have a list of material. And so every time we bid a job, we send, well, I won't say every time. There are a few exceptions when something is like a really specialized fence. So for instance, if we bid a Ameristar Matrix Alpha type of installation, then we might just send the layout to them, or
Yeah,
one of their like crash rated fence systems or something like that. Like we'd probably just send the layout to them and let them do the
which
takeoff.
you mentioned a complex job we're working on now. It's not necessarily that. Oh, maybe it is one of those where you can rely on Ameristar to do the engineer work based on the specs and product that are provided in the plan set, which is a pretty cool
Mhm.
feature or service that they provide if you have
Yeah.
the time.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. So actually, a job that I'm working on bidding right now is 180 mile per hour wind load rating,
yep.
Matrix Alpha, all of the things that I've kind of mentioned in here. So, um,
So in that circumstance, we'd forego the submitting a material list. We just give them the layout and the spec sheet and rely on their engineers to do what they do best.
yep. And we just are willing, ready, and able to provide whatever information they need to make their life easier.
And I could be wrong in this, but I think in that circumstance, they're then assuming the responsibility for the engineering of the product.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
So
they'll I think they offer two different things. Okay, and I might be a little bit iffy on this. I am a little bit iffy on this, but I believe they offer two different things. I think one is they offer a product that they say will withstand 180 mile per hour wind load. And then if you want, they also will hire a third party engineer who will give you stamped drawings of the fence that certifies it will meet the 180 mile per hour wind load.
cool.
So they do a lot of cool stuff when it comes to that kind of like specialty. And I mean, this isn't sponsored. They're not going to give us a discount or anything because of this. We're just sharing information with you.
But they can if they want to.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Okay. All right. So I prefer to prepare a material list and send to the supplier, right? And that's
Yeah.
what we do. So our system, our process is we create our own material list. We submit it to the supplier. I think you get a better response time from your suppliers. In my opinion, we have a higher level of accuracy by doing that. So we have our material list, we get their material list. We basically do a side by side comparison, go item by item to make sure that they include everything. And 9 times out of 10, there's something on there that they either didn't include or the quantity is wrong. So by having our own list, then it makes it a lot easier to verify that, right?
Also, I asked my vendor about how he preferred me submit things, because at one time I think I was just submitting takeoffs only,
Mm,
and then he was figuring it, and then he was like, "Man, if you could just give me those material lists,
yeah.
which I can export a Excel file or CSV, and then just copy and paste in the email. He can fill in the prices, or they
Yep.
send their own price sheet, but
Yeah. They use their forms.
it's pretty cool."
Yeah. Yeah, and so, um, kind of this is really off subject, right? But I think your vendors are a part of your team, and I think a lot of people, I don't know, I'm not pointing any fingers. I've not really experienced that, but I just kind of feel like there's a lot of talk about, taking care of your team as in the people that work at your company. But remember that your vendors and your suppliers and manufacturers and all of those other people that you need to operate your business are a part of your team as well.
That's for sure, man. So
And
that was when I first started quoting prefabricated ornamental, which I wasn't doing for a while. So
mm,
I didn't deal with this specific vendor. So I called, introduced myself. It did help that we had met in at Fence Tech a little bit earlier. But how do you want me to do this? How long should I expect the quote to take?
yeah,
And just basically introduce myself and establish some expectations and say, I'm new to this, so I probably have a shitload of questions. I'm sorry for that, but and then basically just kind of ask, how do you want me to navigate this so that I'm not just taxing the crud out of you,
right.
And so, and it's gone pretty well.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I feel like the communication was maybe a little bit looser than what I would have preferred, and then so I just called and did the introduction, and now I have an accurate expectation of how long quotes will take, and we're actually a little bit more friendly
I
now,
need I need to make a note of that.
Okay.
So
I'll stall. I'm stalling them for a minute.
you talk for a minute. Let me make a note of that. I, that's
Yeah,
good
so
stuff.
we're edging up against calculating price. We've talked about submitting the material list, so we get a quote. The We've
So
talked about the ins and outs of the material list. We like to have that submitted within 72 hours, which obviously you don't want to pressure. It's okay, I think, to periodically say, "Hey, could I get this today? We're in a pinch," but I certainly don't want to be that guy every time. And I've worked for that guy a lot, and that's kind of sucks really as a supplier. So not only that, but it gives you a little bit more time to do that contrast and compare that Dan was saying. You compare your two material lists to make sure what they sent you is the right thing. Also go back through the specs and say, oh crud, it's supposed to be 14 gauge. I put 16 gauge. Let me get
Yep.
that real quick. So if it gives you that last little bit when you're in crunch time of trying to submit the bid.
So definitely you want to review the quote you get from your supplier. And you want to have time to do that, right? And so we bid a job within the past couple days. This happened where I look back at a material list that we had gotten, and it wasn't exactly what we needed. It was overbid for the project, or in comparison to what they asked for on the job. And I think whenever we made those change, it
So for
was
sake of conversation, we just say we had quoted commercial grade material when we really needed residential,
well, it
basically.
was still a commercial, but we had quoted like a heavy
Heavier, right.
commercial, industrial, something like that. And they actually had asked for like a light commercial, and it was a prefab ornamental job. And so it had rings in it that we didn't really need, and it had finials on top of it that we also didn't need. And so by removing that stuff, I think we were able to drop the price of it by like $30 or $35 a
Finials are
foot.
expensive, man.
Yeah, they were expensive on there. So you always want to have a little bit of time to sit and review that kind of stuff and make sure that you're actually getting the quote on what you want. And it doesn't take you 3 hours, right? Typically. But I mean, at least, 15 minutes. And if you wait up until the very last minute and you're like, oh man, I got to turn this in 20 minutes. And like, I just now got my material quote, you're not going to have that time. And so also the same as we think about that is that also goes for the general contractor who receives your bid 20 minutes before theirs is due. Like they want time to sit and go through your proposal and make sure that you're bidding the right thing too. Right? They need to make sure that the quantities are right and that your scope of work is correct.
I can't remember who we were talking to about this, and they were like, no, man, you want to submit them at like 1 minute till, because you
Yeah.
don't want to give them too much time to compare and contrast. You want them to just have to make a decision right.
Yeah, you don't want them to shop your price. So that's kind of that like old school mentality, right? That used to be the way that in my
If we all
experience,
submit like 1 minute till, they just pick the best,
right?
whatever, they just pick one.
They just pick one. Like, I mean, if that's what everyone's doing, they're just going to choose one and stick it on there, and they can't look at anything. And that's not good because then they sell the job and they come back to you and you're like, oh, wait a minute, no, I didn't include that, and that doesn't work well for anyone.
Right.
So all right. So yeah, we kind of ran through. We've sent our material list off to the supplier and we got the price back from them. We'll send a scope. So we prepare like some little scope documents and send to any subcontractors that we're going to use on a job. We do have in-house crews. We also use subcontractors for fence installation, but then we have, automation subs and core drill and an array of other subcontractors. And so we try to give them the information that we think they're going to need to quote it. And as it turns out, we are fence professionals. And so we have a pretty decent idea of what a fence installer needs to quote a job. Some of the stuff that we don't know so much about, we're not exactly sure what all information they need, but we do our best. And I would prefer that you send them a little more than they need than a little less than they need. So, Craig Eubanks here. What's up, man?
Hey, Greg. Welcome.
Thanks for stopping by. So yeah. So anyways, we have those prices back too, right? From any subs that we're going to use, from all our material quotes, all that kind of stuff. And so then we have to look at the next stuff, right? Is there going to be any equipment rental, per diem, lodging, fuel, anything like that that has to go into the
Yes.
job? Any additional insurance? Because by now we've read through the project manual and we know what the insurance requirements are. And so we can add any money for additional endorsements or anything like that that we may have to have.
That's right. Now, my
Um,
favorite part, we use a cost of goods sold times some random number calculation.
yeah. Yeah, we just randomly choose a number and we're like, we feel like this one is the one for this. So actually, the truth is we're just not going to tell you.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So
Basically, we have I will kind of break it down. So it's cost of goods sold times a percentage that we believe to be our overhead plus a margin that we hope to earn on the job, and that's the real basic lazy man's way of describing that.
yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how deep. Do I want to get in there and like correct?
That's up to you.
Okay. So the margin is the difference in like when you do the cost of goods sold times 2, right? Then your margin would be the difference in the number that you get as a result of that calculation and your cost of goods sold. Right.
Yep,
So then your profit is a part of that margin and your overhead is a part of that
that's
margin.
correct.
Yeah.
And think I was saying that.
Okay. Well, just to that, it made more sense to me that way. So hopefully one of those two ways you got something out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's super easy, man. And I know I've talked about this before, but it's so crazy. I used to use some crazy freaking calculation that like it was getting me the same result at the end of the day. But I went back through our P&Ls and like I broke all of this stuff down and figured out, okay, I can do this calculation based on the material cost or the labor cost. And then, that's going to apply some overhead. And then I'm going to take a percentage of the job as profit. And like I did some crazy calculation and I was listening to the contractor fight and he said cost of goods sold times 2. And I was like, wait a minute. And it changed my life. It changed the way
Nice.
that we bid jobs here. And that's been what, 6 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's super easy. It's way better. I definitely would suggest that method to anyone who's out there calculating fence material or install prices or whatever you want to say, jobs. Definitely is easier. I would never bid a job and just say material times
A number.
2 or 3 or 1.5 or whatever. But that's a know your numbers topic, and we're not going down that path.
So now we've determined our price. We have designated a scope of work by this point. It's time to prepare your proposal.
Mm-hmm. It is. This is where the real magic happens right here. Well, I guess maybe the last piece of magic. Yeah.
It's send.
Yeah. So we're getting close. We're almost to the finish line here.
I was biting my nails after the sending.
Right.
'Cause
So
that's like, oh no, did I cost of
it
goods sold
is.
plus times enough?
Yeah. It is.
Did I miss anything?
It is. It is. I've been experiencing that for like 5 months on a job now. And then I found out we didn't get the job. My price was significantly higher than what the lowest general contractor submitted. And we were the majority of the job, but there was some
Wow.
other cost in there. So yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it? I had one of those.
Yeah. It happens. And then that's a whole interesting thing because then I'm like, oh man, what did I do wrong? Did I put too much labor in there? Did they get a better price on the material? And you really want to just spend that time diving into it. But I try not to look back too much. I try to just understand what we need to do a job and understand what we are going to deliver to the customer and then just move on to the next one and hope for the best. I don't know. Anyway, so we're preparing the proposal. And so in this world, these proposals are created from like a Word document that we use as a template of sorts. Yeah, Zach likes to cheat and use create his straight onto a PDF, but which is cool. It all looks the same and it comes out in the end, right? But
I started using the Word document at
did
your
you?
request.
That's
Yes,
good. That's good. I
sometimes.
feel better now.
I still prefer the PDF. It's easy.
Oh, remember last week when I figured out that, or when you told me that someone had like just decided that one of the processes we had in place didn't fit their desires and they changed it?
Yeah.
I had just had flashbacks of that moment.
Oh yeah, I'm not doing that.
So, anyways, so yeah, I think
What was that? It was not me.
that was my phone call that was
Oui.
coming in, and I tried to mute it before it
And
said
she
anything.
speaks French.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah, my Siri's in French. So
Cool. Try to keep it all on one page, people.
yeah.
That's the plan here.
Yep.
And we're not doing any kind of submittals at this point, right?
Nah. I can remember one job where I had to give submittals with a proposal. And it specifically said, like, in the bid documents, that you had to turn in a submittal at the same time. And that was the only time that I can remember seeing this. And I thought it was pretty stupid, but I did it anyways
I think
and didn't get the job anyway.
we have done some like partial concept renderings internally to kind of figure out how the job will assemble if it's weird. And there's not a real good way of how to do it. You know, if you need to do kind of a support drawing to figure out how to bid the project, which we've come into that a few times where we're like, how's that gonna work in order to figure out designate time?
Yeah.
I mean, if you got to make a specific part before you assemble a panel or something weird like that, or drill a bunch of straps to hold the chain link to the top rail or something, you may want to kind of envision how all that goes before you get into it. But we're not drawing drawings just to turn in with the project.
Yeah. So I might go in, if I was doing the things you're talking about, I would go into AutoCAD and I would do it there. And so it'd all be drawn to scale. That way I could make sure I knew like cut links and how many holes went into the piece of the strap or, something like that. So, but
I've done some like preliminary concept sketches, not to scale, just thinking, oh, well, I'll just do it like this. And it works out for ordering the material and figuring the job. But what it doesn't work for is when you go to do the job, you can't just scale that to be a submittal or shop drawing.
Right.
So it might as well, if you're doing any preliminary drawing, just save it, make it to scale, and then use it in case, if you have that base to start from if you're going to draw a submittal.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. So if I'm going to do it, it's going to be drawn to scale, but I will often do it and it needs to be drawn to scale. Right. We were talking the other day and you were working on some calculation, and I was like, well, just come up with the math that you think it is, go into AutoCAD, draw it, and then verify your theory.
Right.
Right. And so it's kind of like a simulated physical piece in AutoCAD. And so you can test stuff on there to make sure that what you think is going to work will actually work.
Yep.
But yeah, so try to keep your proposal all on one page. If you're going to, in my opinion, my advice to you would be your front page should have your heading, your header, right? What company are you? And then I'll reference the name of the project, put the date on there, and then put my scope of work, put whatever disclaimers, exclusions, things like that go in there, and then a price.
In the header, we also address attention to whoever the person is who requested the bid, right?
I frequently just have attention estimator. And then if I have to give that to 5 people, they all 5 get the same one.
I feel that. I personalize it if it's for one person, which a lot of the ones I've been doing lately are.
Yeah. So, I mean, people see it, you see it both ways. People want to personalize it for every person, but I mean, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, if you're trying to get to the point where you're bidding 10 jobs a week to general contractors and every one of them has 4, you're now creating 40 individual Word documents a week. And then with the Word document, I then will convert it to a PDF to email it. So now I have 40 Word documents and 40 PDFs that I made all for 10 jobs. So, it just depends on you, man. And, if you want to personalize it and put their name and address and company name and whatever you feel like you need, then go for it. Doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt you for sure. But I don't think that me putting attention estimator hurts me either. So there's that. Every once in a while, I will sometimes get a request to bid something from a general contractor who I know is difficult in some way. They don't pay well, right? They don't manage their projects well. Any of these type of scenarios where there, if we're going to work for them, it's going to be at a higher margin, right? And so there may be a time or two a year that I'll submit a price to one particular person that does get their proposal personalized to them because it's a little more expensive. And it's not just because I don't like them. There is a good reason that goes behind it. And so, if they're more difficult for whatever reason,
Well,
then
we did talk about extending payment terms
yeah.
or
Well, I mean, in this world, man, you're just going
adjusting
to be
payment terms. So that's a thing too. I mean, if we were say somebody's net 30, someone's net 60,
Mm.
there may be a good reason for isolating that and personalizing it to a specific company.
Well, what I'm saying is if you get somebody that doesn't want to pay you for 120 days or something like that, then
Right. Which
know.
we do. That conversation happens. Have we done work for these people before? And then we were like, dig around through QuickBooks and see what did they pay like last time? I felt like it was kind of weird. And,
Yeah.
That's not an uncommon conversation.
Yeah. So actually in QuickBooks, you can go to, in our version, I don't know about the online one. I don't know what it has in there, but so in ours, you can go to like a customer snapshot and it'll show you the average days to pay.
Mhm.
And so you can kind of take a look at that and see if they're going to pay you and when they're going to pay you and get an idea too. If you're concerned and if you want to put in that kind of work on the front end. Again, if you're bidding to 40 different people a week, you're not putting in that work to all 40 of them.
That's right. So now we submit.
Yep.
Yep. The best part.
Yeah. Well, not really the best part.
Best part's scoring the job, obviously, but
yeah, the best part's depositing the check.
Well, there you go.
Right. But
I like scoring the job personally.
Yeah,
I don't deposit checks.
So you get these different little you get these thrills, man. So thrill number one for me is having gone through a job that either I didn't have enough time to do, or was really complicated, or was really something unique, and completing the bid.
Yeah.
Right. So I've told you multiple times that like something on my bucket list is to submit a bid on a project in a war zone.
In an active war zone.
Not even to sell the job, just to submit it. Right. Because like that's kind of a little
yeah,
a little victory or a little win is just getting the proposal turned in.
Does a crashed plane storage site count for you? No. I saw one of those recently. It was a fence for expanding a broken down plane, and they call it
the plane junkyard.
Yep. They call it the crash zone.
Oh, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. I don't think that's not on the bucket list.
Oh, well.
But anyways, yeah, so I get a little win when I submit the proposal. I get a little win whenever they call me and ask me questions about the proposal. And then if they do decide to move forward with us, like there's another little win, right? And then when we actually like gather all the parts and pieces together and we go and start the job, that's a milestone. And then when we finish and then when we get paid. So like there's little victories all along the way.
Come in your office earlier this week to celebrate billing and having completed a billing cycle.
Yeah.
So
on time.
Which is not that I've historically not been on time. It was just
I'm doing a win.
And reason being, I guess I've only been doing it for a couple months now, doing progress billing. So it's new stuff for me, really not that hard at all. Using the AIA template, basically.
Which
I don't know why it was intimidating. I guess I don't know why it was intimidating at all, to be honest. Now that I think about it, it just was different. It was new, never done it before. And I guess because it pertains to money, it's like if I mess up, I really mess up because it's monetary. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, so I said the little win, don't deposit the check, but submitting the bill, submitting the invoice for me is kind of that. Like
that means you did the work, man.
Right.
We're that's done. Like
we did it.
Yeah. So
and then Donnie gets to duke it out with them to make sure they pay.
Right. All right. So we submitted the bid. Now we're going to do some follow-ups. Follow-ups you can read anywhere you want or listen to anybody talk about follow-ups. They're a big deal. So having said that, we don't really have a system in place for doing follow-ups with general contractors at the moment. And we had I had a board in Monday that I used previously that had automated follow-ups and stuff like that in it. But we talked a little bit earlier about how, we use this database and bidders or sub items and all of that, and we haven't quite worked through how to create the automated follow-ups. And so right now, Claiborne is just like picking up the phone and sending emails to try to do like manual follow-ups with people. So having that data of you won, you lost. Well, if we got beat, how bad did we get beat? Right? Can you give me something? Did we get beat by 5%, 10, 50, $100, $10,000? Like any information that they'll give you is useful. And so we have once the proposal is submitted, then the job rolls from one board to another in Monday. And the other board is called like bid results. And that one has like our price that we submitted, the price that they purchased it at. And then of course it has a spot for us to mark the jobs as sold. And so that's just kind of to like collect our closing rates and to collect, like I wanted to see an average of a percentage that we're getting beat by. So, that would, like, I'm not trying to race to the bottom, but I feel like that would be pretty decent information to have. So yeah, like I said, that's where we need to kind of focus on, or I need to go back and look at that thing and try to do some automated follow-ups, because follow-ups are a big deal.
Yeah.
Maybe
Mine's kind of crumbled, but then again, I'm not getting a lot of my leads now are in that GC bidding board and not in the old ornamental board. So
yeah,
like, whatever,
we just get busy, man. I mean, we're bidding jobs and selling jobs and writing policies and going to trade shows and doing this and
managing people and
Yeah.
all the repairing equipment and
Right.
all the stuff that comes along with all this.
Yep. Yeah. So you get busy and you kind of put things on the back burner. We do it. Everybody does it. It's just a part of life. And so
I even welded some. I've got a burn to show it.
Yeah, I saw that just a minute ago.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
I
a nice day when I get to do a little welding.
Yeah. The weather's been pretty nice.
Yeah. Well,
It's a
I don't
little warm.
remember. I think I was showing them how to, or a piece was not on the table and somebody was like, we got to pick this up and put it back on the table. And I was like, no, I'll just run this overhead weld real quick. No big deal. Something like that. It was one of those.
Yeah. Well, here, let me show you how to do it. And then you got a quarter size burn on your arm.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But I liked it.
Yeah.
I like welding.
Well, I think that's a good time to pause this story. And so what we'll do next week is we'll pick up here and we'll continue on after they decide to hire us, and we'll run through that piece of our process. And then hopefully episode 5 will be the last one of our process. I don't know. I'm kind of tired of talking about our process. I want to talk about something else. So yeah, I mean, I guess we can just talk about this from now on. I don't know.
Right. We'll just start over at the beginning.
Yep.
Thank you for everyone who joined in to comment. I think there was a Christian up there. Yeah. Brian T. Fredrickson, Christian Alvarez. Thanks for joining in or stopping by, man. Even if you just run by and give us a high five, that's pretty dang cool.
Yep.
Susan K. Worley, Craig Eubanks. Appreciate all you guys.
And everyone else who didn't comment.
That's true.
Yeah. Thanks for
stopping.
I
was getting there. If you got anything that you'd like us to talk about, I've seen a bunch of stuff on Facebook mentioning what podcast could or would talk about. I hope some of that traffic ends up here and we can capture some of that. What are these topics? What do you want to hear? Whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Again, we'll be in Reno, Nevada on September 5th through 7th for the West Coast Fence Show, booths 516 and 18. If you want to meet us in person and give us some criticism, comments, content, ideas, whatever.
Hey, and if you've never seen us at a trade show, we typically have a little putting green in our booth that you might have a chance at winning a little money too. So
yeah, you will have a chance at winning money.
Yeah.
You may or may not win. The might is whether you win the money.
Yeah, you
definitely will have a chance.
Don't win. You don't even want to try. Just walk on by.
Cool. Right. Thanks again. We'll see you guys next time. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.